Boa tarde. Vamos iniciar nosso segundo dia do Eixo Internacional e agora nós temos a apresentação da professora Marcela. O título da apresentação: How Language Develops in Our Children, Influence of the Perceptions from Parents of Bilingual Preschoolers. Ela está online. Hi, Marcela.
Hi,
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. I don't know if you can see that I am already projecting my presentation.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me today. This presentation is part of my I am analyzing, or I am studying the effects of an intervention, of a specific intervention in bilingual preschoolers here in Medellín. This particular part I'm very proud of because I had the opportunity of working directly with not only the children whose information you will see in a moment, but also with their parents. And I had the opportunity of analyzing how much do those parents influence the development of their children's language, most especially since right now we have a, a bilingual world, a bilingual, or there's a multilingual world. So being monolingual today is the exception. So how are we contributing as parents and as educators, and how can we educators make our parents aware of the highly significant role that they have in the development of their children's language? That regardless if parents know that other language or that additional language that their children are learning, they have a very significant role in children's first language. So what I am going to present to you today are some of the correlations that I have found between the way parents think about linguistic processes and the language development of their children, and how do those beliefs have an effect on the development of their children's language. So I divided this presentation in 5 parts. The first one is called is why children, why to do studies like this with children. The second why that I incline myself to share with you regarding parents' beliefs, because we normally talk about teachers' beliefs, but we do not normally consider or discuss parents' beliefs. Then I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the study itself, the results I have obtained, because this is an ongoing research. And finally, the conclusions and recommendations I give. So let's begin with the first part. Why children? So children are in a childhood, all of childhood, but particularly the ages in which which I'm working with, which are 4 and 5 year olds, are in a critical developmental period. And we can evidence this in everyday language, because children are curious, because children ask questions, because normally this is the age in which parents are most confronted with their children's curiosity because they ask questions like, why is the sky blue and why is grass green? Why do things work in specific ways? And they normally do not conform with, oh, just because, or it's because that's the way things work. Children's language at this age, it goes beyond, and their curiosity provides teachers and parents with a golden opportunity to enhance the language patterns of their children. In the children are also at a very interesting cognitive and neurodevelopmental stage. Authors like Cuéllar et al. In 2020, they had a particular study in which they evidence how gray matter actually increases when there is more an enriched context in which they can thrive and in which they can be exposed to. So, as I said earlier, this provides a very unique opportunity to evidence not only the process of language and the way language is built in children, but also how much progress they do in short periods of time, especially when we expose our children to enrich linguistic environments. Additionally, studies like João and Robert, um, they have proof or they have evidence that there is a higher brain connectivity, or especially of auditory areas, when children are in a enriched linguistic environment. So this led me to design a hypothesis that the stronger beliefs are in parents, the more proficient children will become in certain linguistic functions, in this particular case, in their phonological awareness, which is highly explained by the auditory cortex of the brain. Then, why parents' beliefs? Well, parents are the primary takers and they are the first sources of language. Because think about, and I would like you to consider this question, and additionally, if someone wants to answer, think about how you learned your first language. Think about who were your references and what are the kind of words that you use today as an adult, and how much are they influenced by your parents' language. I don't know if you have any examples that you might like to provide. Well, we can get to that question later. So parents are the first sources of language. For instance, here in Colombia, particularly with our first language, we have a lot of parents who, instead of saying "you're welcome" as con gusto or de nada, they say "amen." They say "amen" instead of "you're welcome." And this is something that I am also used to because it was my parents' type of language. That instead of saying "you're welcome," they say "amen." So parents are the first sources of language of their children, and therefore they are one of the highest influences that children have to develop language. Whenever a parent has a linguistic mistake, that normally reflects on their children. So if their children are following their example, well, they normally do it exactly like their parents do. There are studies also that show that there is a connection between the effect between enriched linguistic environments, and which I have to stop a little while here and tell you what are those enriched learning environment and linguistic learning environments. They are environments that are characterized by a very wide range of vocabulary and a constant use of what we will call adult language. But these are environments in which these words are made accessible to children, because not only they represent more complex and more abstract concepts most of the times, but they are accessible to children because parents and caretakers recognize different ways and different modalities in which these words can be explained to children, because some concepts might be a little bit out of their reach, but if we make them available to them in a comprehensive manner, they will understand. So these two studies by Gilkerson and Robert, they show that the more we expose children to this type of enriched learning environments and the longer we do it, it's going to have a specific effects, mostly in the two reported functions that they have, which is one, phonological awareness, and two, vocabulary development, which is why normally stronger beliefs lead to more enriched experiences in terms of language. The two beliefs that I explore in here, and I'm going to start, I'm not going to follow this slide in a specific order, is that this is a study in which I analyze two different types of beliefs. Okay, one in which, and I will tell you a little bit more later, which addresses the articulation of words, and the other, the enriched vocabulary. Well, coming back to this slide, this study is quantitative. It's a quasi-experimental design because, as I told you, this is part of my doctoral dissertation, and it's a quasi-experimental design with a sample of 121 children from 6 bilingual schools here in the city of Medellín. So I applied two instruments for the independent variable, which was a Likert scale for beliefs, and a weekly hour scale for the amount of exposure that these parents apply to their children. So this came out into categorical and numerical variables. The categorical variable came from the Likert scale regarding beliefs, and the numerical variable came from the hours of exposure to their children. And we had as the dependent variable some linguistic measures of phonological awareness, intellectual coefficient, vocabulary and verbal ability, and finally a memory scale from the McCarthy scale for children's development. So what did I find in this particular study? As you can see in this image, I know it might not be very clear. We have the TOPS, okay, the test of phonological processing in Spanish, with its 3 subcomponents, which is letter recognition, segmentation, and blending, which are the 3 main components of what we call phonemic awareness, which is one of the main components of phonological awareness. And as you can see, there are differences, statistically meaningful differences between the two groups. The experimental group being the parents with stronger beliefs and with a higher level of exposure to enrich linguistic environments for their children, and the control group, which was in this case the ones with weaker beliefs regarding language, weaker practices, and a lower amount of hours of enriched exposure to their children. So, and none of the other variables of the dependent variables showed statistically meaningful differences. So, as we can see, there were no differences in intellectual coefficient, in vocabulary development, in verbal ability, nor in memory. So the implications for these results are, well, several. So first of all, there are, as I told you earlier, beliefs about language that belong to the order of articulatory beliefs, the way in which parents articulate words and expressions to their children. Because this is where parents with their strongest beliefs had where parents had the strongest beliefs. So, for instance, one of those beliefs is the uh, unnecessary nature of baby talk. What does this mean? These parents believe that you need to talk to children the same way, with the same level of articulation as you will talk to an adult or to a teenager. Meaning, they do not talk like this to their children. No, they talk the natural way in which they will talk to any other person that is not a child. And these beliefs, as I told you, were the strongest and the most evident in the process, where I had the opportunity also of interviewing some of these parents. There are also beliefs about language that belong to the lexical and syntactical realm, in which they talk or they expose their children to enrich vocabulary, meaning that they try to provide new experiences, taking their children to different places and to ask different questions and to see and to experience different environments in which they can explore different words and also different syntactical structures. What is the strongest belief here? Not only that children need a specific language exposure that is very rich in vocabulary, but that these words and this rich vocabulary additionally needs to be accessible to children, and that they need to give them opportunities to ask questions, and parents need to be ready to answer these questions. This cause the effect in the, as you saw in the previous slide, an enhanced process of phonological awareness, that at this age, when we talk about phonological awareness at 4 or 5 years of age, we are talking about the development of phonemic awareness, which is one of the most basic and essential functions of phonological awareness, in which children are able to recognize and to associate graphemes to phonemes, meaning how a letter is written and how their phoneme sounds. So this enhanced phonological awareness allows children to make that connection. So this is why, and this is one of the reasons why these studies that I showed you earlier are aiming at the auditory cortex, because these are processes that, even though they have a visual component, most of this process comes from an auditory component. So that is why there is a higher stimulation in the auditory areas of the brain and higher development when children are exposed to enriched linguistic environments. In here, moving on to conclusions and the recommendation, so we need to enhance our learning environments. We, not only parents, but also us as teachers, we need to enhance the learning environments, because there is also evidence that the more successful children are in their first language, the easier it will be for them to enhance or to learn their second language or a foreign language. There are also implications for literacy processes, because, as I told you earlier, phonological awareness is one of the main predictors of reading and writing processes. An enhanced learning environment, an enhanced linguistic environment will allow children to enhance their reading and writing processes afterwards. Because, as I said before, phonological awareness is one of those key predictors of reading and writing processes. This is also a process that needs to go beyond the classroom. We need to involve parents in the linguistic development of their children, because we cannot simply expect that the school does all the work. This is a joint effort that we need to do for the sake of our children's linguistic development. We cannot expect only teachers to enhance the linguistic abilities of our children. It is also the parents' responsibility, because, as I pointed out earlier, this is something parents are the primary and the most common source of linguistic reference for children. So this is why we need to work on parents' education and to show them how relevant and how important they are when they are developing language in their children. This particular piece of information can be used to show parents that not only they have a role in their children's first language, but that this first language will solidify and will enhance any second or third or foreign language later process that they want to be involved in. So this role that parents have needs to be educated, so parents acknowledge their relevance and the importance that they have in their children's linguistic development. Uh, this is these are some of my references that I will be very happy to share with you. And well, so far, this is the end of my presentation, but I am open to your questions and your comments.
We have questions online. Questions here. Okay, well, I have a question for you, Marcela. I teach a course on language acquisition, and I have basically said exactly what you say. So we are pretty much in agreement with that. It is interesting to see a research which confirms our maternal hypothesis that we should talk to our kids in a natural way and treat them as equals, and not only because they're children. So we should use baby talk or not developed language. In Brazil, we have English classes at our schools, public schools and private schools. We also have bilingual education in specific bilingual schools. But we have not seen much success among the children regarding English. So my question is, how is it in Colombia? How is the educational process in English or second language in Colombia?
Thank you for that question, Candice, because this is a very similar environment in which we have public education, private non-bilingual education, and private bilingual education. The Ministry of Education considers that a school can be bilingual under three modalities. The first one is English immersion, in which students have a very high number of hours in English instruction. The magic number is at least 10 hours per week of instruction in English, whether if it is an English course per se or any additional courses in English. We have partial bilingualism, in which at the very least half of the curriculum is taught in English. And we have full bilingualism, in which all the courses, with the only exception of Spanish, of course, of first language course, is taught in English, meaning that they have science, math, social studies, language arts, all of it instructed in English. Bilingual schools, under any of the three modalities, they normally reach levels of English proficiency. However, private non-bilingual school and public education sadly do not reach high levels of communicative competence in English. This is just my own hypothesis, but I also believe that this has to do with how strong their first language processes are. Because sadly, when it comes to language here in Colombia, beliefs regarding linguistic patterns are normally stronger in more educated parents that normally matriculate their children in bilingual schools, in bilingual private schools. So these are parents with a higher level of education, a higher level of income, and normally more hours in which they interact with their children. So this also poses a very significant challenge for public education and for private non-bilingual education, because we need to involve parents somehow in here, regardless of their level of education, and we need to make them aware of their language and the way that it influences their children. Because, and we have a popular saying here that is called, ¿Cómo voy a aprender inglés si ni siquiera sé bien español? How am I going to learn English if I don't speak proper Spanish? And this, we now finally have a little bit of evidence of why this happens. And it's because of the linguistic environment in which children are in which normally fossilized mistakes or a very poor range of linguistic experiences are available for children. So this particular piece of research also has implications for public education, because we need, we need to think as teachers on how are we going to enhance our children's processes and linguistic environments, regardless of their social economical status and the type of education that they are receiving. I don't know if there is maybe another question.
Yeah, definitely. It is very similar in Brazil concerning the types of bilingual schools that we have and public schools. So I think we are actually very similar in that respect, especially regarding public schools and the children who live in not favorable socioeconomic situations. They are definitely deprived, maybe by their parents, of any further development in Portuguese. So we have actually the very similar question here when they say, I don't even speak Portuguese, so why am I going to learn English? Which makes sense. And while you were talking, I was thinking that maybe as a university, as a course that has a career in Portuguese and English teaching, shouldn't we maybe um, develop a study or a course or something that would stimulate parents to develop their first languages? I don't know, maybe a outreach program, or we wouldn't be able to do it entirely in the whole city, but I mean, maybe an area as an experiment, that would be interesting.
Yeah,
So,
this is something I'm actually working on because, okay, I described the constraints and the difficulties that we had with our educational system here. But there are also organizations here in Medellin. We have a particular organization called MOVA. Is a teachers organization in which they provide learning opportunities not only for teachers and students at schools but also for their parents and their families. They are doing beautiful work on administering neighborhood libraries in which, for instance, books are available to people who do not have a lot of access to even public libraries. Because here in Medellin, we do have several public libraries that are open to every citizen, and they are and their books are accessible for free. They do not need to pay anything to be a member of these public libraries. However, there are neighborhoods in which the constraints are so significant that there are outreach programs being taken directly into these less privileged neighborhoods in which they have the opportunities of not only having reading material but also workshops and lectures on a variety of processes and necessary components for our education. So I am planning to also join these efforts by providing free workshops through MOVA to different educational communities in Medellin to show how relevant and important um, language exposure is in our children.
that's really amazing. I love the project. That sounds really interesting. I would really like to get to know it better and maybe replicate it here somehow in our city. Uh, so Brau is a city that has quite a good educational system, but we know that there's always means to advance the education of children and especially their parents. So that project sounds really great. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing. Do we have any questions now online? No. Okay, so I think
Don't
that's good. And I thank you very much for participating today and yesterday. And I hope you have a wonderful day and talk to you soon.
talk to you soon. Thank you very much for your attention. And any question or a comment, please feel free to ask Professor Candice for my email, and I will be happy to share what I have built so far.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and have a lovely afternoon.
You too.
Muito
Bye.
obrigada.
Gracias. Ok, bom. A nossa próxima palestra será com o professor Jorge Enrique, também da Universidade Católica Luiz Amigó, às 15 horas. Então, a gente vai ter um intervalinho, né? Deu um intervalinho até lá e nos vemos daqui a pouco. Boa tarde. Vamos então dar início agora à segunda palestra às 15 horas com o professor Jorge Enrique Agudelo, da Universidade Católica Luiz Amigó, Medellín, Colômbia. O tema da sua apresentação é Medellín in Short Film Festival, a blended experience of art, literature, language learning and audiovisual creation. Jorge, thank you so much. Welcome. How are you today?
Welcome, everybody. I'm really happy for you. Thank you for having me here. And, really excited about talking about our experience with the festival.
That is great. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and for being here. So, if you want, you may start.
Okay, well, we are going to start. I am going to share at first, my slides. Give me just a moment. I need to upload the file. Okay. Okay, it is processing the presentation. Let's wait for a few minutes. Well, by the moment, while the presentation upload, my name is Jorge Cuéllar. I am professor at the Catholic University Luis Amigo, and our idea is that I am coming today to share with you the experience of Medellín in Short Film Festival. Well, this is a festival that started. Well, wait, I don't know if I can put the presentation. It is still processing. Let me see. Okay, I am going to start like that. I really would like to show you like the pictures and all the content that is related to the festival. Okay. Yes, there we go. I have like the slide now. Okay. Bueno, welcome now. The first to start is to talk a little bit what is Medellin in short film. Medellin in Short Film is a festival that started, our first edition started around the 2016. And there it started like a necessity for the students to show their academic and artistic experience. And it was in two subjects led by the professor Paolo Villalba Storti. He's a professor of social communication. And they started with the idea that emerges a community classroom towards the spread of these specific projects that students were performing all over the time. So, our agenda, we are going to talk a little bit about the history of the festival, as well which has been like the formative spaces that we have, and the theoretical framework, and how is it connected with a multimodal approach, and how is related especially with language teaching. Good. Well, considering it's an international context, the Medellin Short Film Festival started to be bilingual, and this is why it is also participating with the Bachelor in English Language Teaching from the university. It started as this necessity for the students to have a space where to show their artistical process, and as well the audiovisual work that they have. They made several projects in the classroom related to audiovisual. The first edition was named like Cine Bajo las Estrellas. And the idea is that it was first like the idea of creating these spaces out of the classroom. And the first one was the first topic of the first edition was the association of chaos as an artistic experience. So students work as a theoretical framework with installations, with artistic works of Nam June Park, and the idea of chaos that it is involved in these installations. For example, there's one that is called TV Garden, and as well related to a high and extreme criticism to media. Our second version was called Cine Bajo las Estrellas, having the idea of having the students like out of the classroom. Several spaces of the university were decorated for so, and they could have like the experience of living like a real cinema in the university with popcorn and with all like the terms and topics that will be like currently there, strongly related with this. Okay, after the second edition, in which students have the chance to watch movies outside, there you can see that the spaces of the university were filled with cinema and with the experience of cinema. As well, students have the chance to organize everything and to provide like a theme, like a theme access related to all of this. Good. Our third edition comes with a new proposal that was right centered on illustration, design, installation, and performance, and of course associated with the aesthetics of circus and a little bit of the cinematography works of Tom Growing Freaks. So this idea was to show or to have students to experience a different sort of aesthetics in their work. So all the works would have like a theme, a thematic axis that would work along, that would be like the center of all the reflections and all the the creation, audiovisual and artistic from students. Good. Here we have like this reference, like Oliver de Sagazan with Freaks, okay, and a little bit of the aesthetics that we see related with horror, with that formation, aesthetics of fear, right? So there is like a wide range of aesthetic considerations that can be taken into account. Okay, the same. Well, this was a space at the university with all of the students were in the patio, like watching their own works and as well kind of reflecting on what was the connection of cinema and narratives. Well, this is our one of the blocks of the university that was also decorated. And well, as you can see, it's not only like the experience of seeing the works or having like a final exam thing, but it tries to go beyond because it affects like the academic community like in a different way. Good. During the fourth edition, we decided to go beyond, and here we consider the name of the professor Tatiana Arboleda. Tatiana Arboleda is the professor of photography and videography here in social communication, and right there we started to reflect about digital arts and transmedia narratives and hypertext narratives that are as well connected with all of the media convergence that we are living, that we are currently living, and that of course we are going to be talking about right later on. Good. The festival generated like the first connections with public outside of the university, and was the first time in which students had like the idea of taking out the festival, of taking beyond the walls of the university. So here we have like some of the events. And as well, it was the first time in which the festival provided workshops and formative spaces. Look that it is not only like having the idea of producing in the classroom, but as well to producing in workshops with experts. And here, well, was have like a workshop on creating live video and automated learning. Good. Well, as you can see here, the experiences were changing a lot instead of installations and other contexts, other aesthetic experiences that were associated with the work of students. Good. If we talk now about the fifth edition of the festival, we are going to start thinking about the social component of the festival because by this time we're reflective of social museology, and community artist practices. Right? What is this? Well, us recently like to know that the museum, more than the idea of being an enclosed space to collect things, the point of the social museology is that people can actually participate in the curatorial processes and as well provide their narratives like in with a different view in this overview, right? The idea is that this museum concept gives a space to statements such as accessibility, participation, and social inclusion. As well, here we can have like our YouTube channel. Well, if you want to check it out, is at Medellín en Corto. There you can see not only the experiences and the videos provided by the students, but as well some of the workshops and some of the theories that are involved in there. You know, the process of social museology and as well how it conveys with the work of the students. Good. As well, there have been like lectures. Here we have like Professor Paolo and Professor Tatiana, in which they talk and reflected about the transmedia narratives and hypertext narratives and how they are connected with audiovisual and artistic production. Good. Okay. Then we can see that in this regard, we started to have like different guests to the festival. There we can see like the Urban Memories Museum, that is a museum located in the Comuna Uno, in the Comuna Dos here in Medellin, in which we can see the mural art that has precisely this approach of the social museology and the community artist practices. We have the chance of having people from the communities here talking to the students, sharing, reflecting about the products, and as well how this experience affects like all the process. As you can see, Medellin en Corto, it's a blended experience because you can see here that I've been talking about art, about narratives, and about museology, in which the idea is that that's why it is a blend. Here we are blending not only the theoretical framework or severe concepts, also art as well as literature. I would say that literature would be present all over the festival, since we are creating like a specific narratives associated to that. During the sixth edition, the festival, it was the first time in which the festival started to include content in English. And this was because at first it was a project only of social communication and graphic design, but later it came upon us as a work from the Bachelor in English Teaching from the Catholic University, Luis Amigó. So the idea is that during the sixth edition, that was 2022, we have like a very particular social situation here in Colombia related to human rights and post-truth. And the idea with the sixth edition was that we aim to connect like the current idea of the country or the current situation with the national strike, as well as how human rights leaders were disappearing, and how from here, from the university, uh, how could we reflect around this phenomena, and how students could create like a particular narratives related to that, associated with that, especially narratives that were under an audiovisual framework. Good. Well, we have different international guests. For example, Gianni Christopoulos is a professor from Greece, and he talked to us about his experience with music and how music was associated with social movements. That curiously, we don't believe that the music is only just for certain entertainment, but of course, here was associated with other aspects that was like the reflection of the social background and as well like the social labor of art. Good. Well, as well, we have here, I'm sorry because I see the very, very small. Okay, good. Also, well, this is one of the pieces that were created for social media. In social media, students started to create some pieces in English in which they reflect about different personalities on important people associated. So we have different international guests, right? For example, we work with the Women's Museum from Mexico. Later on, I am going to show you more images. Well, these were like the pieces that were shared for Medellín in short film for this edition, in which students work all everything associated and related to human rights and how these projects would reflecting the idea of how human rights are connected to almost everything in the world. Good. Here is Professor Yanni Christopoulos that was, and as well, all of the reflections that were associated with violence, human rights, and all the manifestos created in art. Good. Students have all of this background to make their own creations for not just the audiovisual exhibition, but as well for the I am sorry, I forgot for those who visual expression and our other product that is the artistic exhibition. Good. We had conversations with organizations, community organizations, right? As well, we had a cinema forum from the narratives associated with human rights. We had a talk with the National Center of Historical Memory of Colombia and the Memory History Museum. Good. We also talk with associations such as Caribe Afirmativo, that it is one of the associations in Colombia, mostly recognized because of their awareness of the LGBTI community. Good. As well, this is from the Women's Museum from Mexico, because by this section and this part of the festival, we work not only on the works of the students, but as well, we had all of these formative spaces. This was like our first edition of the museum, which got like the highest and the most possible international guests that were with us. Good. Well, in our academic seminar, we work as well with human rights, and the students got the chance to not only participate but also to revise the idea of conflict and post-conflict from the artistic and audiovisual narratives and how that is all present in all the time. Later on, we had a cinema forum with Juan Diego Zuluaga Gallego that was one of the winners of the Stimuli for Art and Culture here in Medellin. His presence was very relevant because he could talk to us about how the development of this political speech and the association with human rights was like one of the most important things in this background. Good. Later on, we made also a lecture in the Coloquio Internacional de Narrativas from the Autonomous University of Puebla in Mexico, in which also presented a little bit of the theoretical framework that we are going to show right away after the history of the festival, which are the reflections that teachers made in order to convey meaning and in order to create the festival. Good. Then, well, here we have some of the logos of some of the participations of some of the organizations that were with us. The one was Caribe Afirmativo or the Red Conciliar. That was these are organizations that work mostly and primarily with minorities. As well, we have the Anne Frank House, that is a museum from the Netherlands. This museum from the Netherlands also show us like how was the experience of Anne Frank and how it was connected with also with the works of the students, because later on we are going to see like what kind of books are the ones that the students read and how they are connected and associated with the audiovisual production. Good, okay. Sentarte, that is an organization, a cinema producer, in which artists work with communities, with indigenous communities here in Colombia. The Externado de Colombia University with the professor Catalina Ximenes, which came talking about the relationship between politics, violence, and as well the cinema, audiovisual, and narratives. And as well, of course, some people from the mayor of Medellín, the mayor of the city, which came to talk about their processes related to human rights, the Women's Museum from Argentina, and the Granada University and the Rey Juan Carlos University from Spain. Well, that was like the most international version of the festival. I think that it was amazing, like all of the process that we had the chance to live in there. And it was an incredible space for the students to get acquainted about all of the narratives and speeches related with human rights and how they can connect, or what is the social function of art when it is connected with this sort of phenomena. Good. The seventh edition was called, that was the most connected with literature, and it's called Alternative Realities, Imaginary Worlds. Here, students create like their audiovisual processes, mostly associated with their working class, their reading processes in class, and we are going to see how did it work in our seventh edition. We have an artistic exhibition that took place here in the university, in which students had the chance to participate with different products. One of them was like the posters related to movies and posters related to books that created this idea of dystopia, of alternative worlds, of parallel worlds that are also currently studied like in the literature and in cinema. And also we have our audiovisual show that currently we are having our audiovisual show right now, and it's taking place in the library of the university right away. And well, here by this seventh session, we have the presence of, oops, something happening here. Okay. We have the presence of Sara Gomez Woolley. Sara Gomez Woolley is a professor from the university from the city of New York, and he came to talk to us about the art of visual memory. She talked with her job like Esperancita's Mostly Truly Memoir, that is a comic book that actually presents all of the traditions and all of the experiences lived by Sara's mother traveling from Colombia to the United States in a migration process during the 40s. During the 40s, there was like the violence for the political parties in Colombia, the Conservative Party and the Liberal Party, and it was a time of a huge war that generated a lot of migration. So Sara is the daughter of one of these migrants, and she decided to create or to tell this story of her mother by using the language of comics. So her reflection was like the connection of memory and how memory was useful to convey meaning or to create this story in which memory takes part of fiction. She's from New York City University. We talk a little bit about her experiences, but of course, one of the most interesting things from Sara is that she's a leader from the Illustrator Society from New York, And also, she has had the chance to produce and to participate with books and editorials as important such as Nat Geo or Scholastic. Well, I think that most of you recognize this. Well, this is the love of the Wonder Woman that has traveled around the world. And Sarah talked to us a little bit about the creation of this logo that was created by her, that it is a thing associated with empowerment of women and her oral narrative of all her at work. Here, it's a part of one of the books of the Esperancitas Mostly True memoir, in which Sarah tells us the story about how migration shaped her whole life, and how it shaped like the history and the memory and the perceptions of her mother about Colombia. So now it's like the story of a Colombian American trying to reveal the story from the violence during the 40s. And students had the possibility of have a long talk to Sarah and exchange ideas with her, and as well with all the community of the university, which was very valuable. And well, something that is really interesting is that now all of the festival has bilingual processes, not only for the works presented by the students, but as well for the guests that we have the chance to have with us. Well, this is one of the drawings of Sarah, where she rebuilt her house from childhood, and she could have the chance of remember by doing by a picture, and how memory, literature, and art come up to be as a memory exercise in which we can like recollect or rebuild all of the possibilities that memory has by literature. Well, this is Esperanza, Sarah's mother, and as well like the first picture that she had when she came to Colombia, when she went to the United States, when she left Colombia due to the situation of violence involved. And over here, well, now as I made that an overview of the festival, we are going to consider what is the theoretical framework of all of the experience that we have here. And here we say that it's a blended experience because there are many theories that convey for it. Some of the theories come from communication and others related to the language teaching. The first one is the social museology. Well, at first, what we have to say is that usually the museum has been considered a this enclosed space that is associated mostly with something kind of sacred, kind that you cannot touch or you cannot interact with any of the works. But according to social museology, the museum stops to be like this sacred space, like this space with nothing can be touched or nothing can be seen, to be a place in which all of the people, the spectators, are as well involved. And this is one of the principles of our artistic exhibition, that just the students design all of the part of the exhibition, and they recognize all of the processes that are associated with it. And well, in Latin America, social museology practice is a reaction against this Eurocentric vision of museums, because well, here is the urge to say like how people can get appropriated with their artistic processes. And as well, you can see that there, well, this is a photo from the Urban Memory Museum, Museo Urbano de Memorias, that is right here in Medellín, in which students get to know like how people decided to create their neighborhood as a museum with the curatorial principles created by someone, not by an academic or by somebody with a certain authority, but here people have the authority of memory to reveal the neighborhood and to generate all of these processes, all of these creative processes. Okay, good. Where is based the social museology? It's based on the Declaration of the Round Table of Santiago in 1972, because there is a demand to recognize what is the social function of the museum. The museum not only considered as a deposit, as a sacred deposit of art, of pieces of art, but also like in a place in which patrimonial objects and patrimonial art can be conserved and with a value given by people. Good. This is another of the pictures of the Urban Memory Museum. And the idea is that the museology has promoted a wide type of reflection, not only in social scenarios, but also in academic scenarios. One of the scenarios has been this university in which students have met different possibilities to understand the connections, man, culture, art, literature, and society. Well, going beyond, we have like the theoretical framework of the experience is the multiculturality, right? The idea is that here we are promoting a dialogue between social museology, education, and languages. Languages not only because of the of having like the traditional scenario where teachers teach grammar and do like all of the common things, but we are going to connect this with media convergence, because actually that is where we are living. We are living a world in which social media and all of the media is constantly bumping us. And how we can do with that, what can we do on that, on how this is reflected in the creation and the processes of the students. Well, the media convergence is a theory that comes from Henry Jenkins. Henry Jenkins is a professor of communication journalist and cinematic arts from the University of Southern California, and has always been talking about like a little bit how this media convergence like generate different products, and as well imposes like new ways of thinking and reflecting, so on. Oh, excuse me, something has started here. Yeah. Okay, good. Well, his research has been related with how there are like multiple ways on media have a convergence. We are going to see that. We cannot see it like right a lot in detail, but we can see how does it work in our festival. Well, we live actually in a globalized world where the students are super connected to media, to internet, to cinema, and how this has changed, like has generated like a change of medium, in which the medium is totally different, and there are different things that the students are producing and are associated with the immediate spread on the network. Good. We are going to say that the media convergences provide a participatory culture and as well a collective intelligence in which we are all involved. Having this, the principle that is the flow of content across multiple media platforms, that is something in which students are involved. We are all involved. And well, we need to go beyond the classroom and embrace this media convergence in favor to education. Good. How can we make that? Well, in this, I'm going to talk about something completely different, but as like the in the English language processes, we have like the test-based learning. There are a wide range of definitions related to TBL, but one of the things would be that is a piece of language that was created to solve a problem from everyday life, and that provides meaning in our word, and it works to defend or to aim or to practice in different scenarios from life. Good. Undoubtedly, the festival is involved with communication, but not only like the solid communication of images of memory of that, but as well the competences required by social communicators, graphic designers, and future teachers. So, well, how does the task-based learning work? Well, we have like three stages that some of you know, like the pre-task, the task cycle, and the post-task. In the pre-task, students get the input in which they are going to talk or they are going to create. Well, in this case, in our case, or in my classes, the students create videos based on their reading experiences, their movie experiences, and their own reinterpretations. Well, instead of making a quiz with 10 questions about the book, well, students are dedicated to create a film, a short video, and documentary in which they express or they solve these problems associated with culture. Good. Later on, we have like a little bit on how this creative process. Students get engaged in the process of the festival, and they create different audiovisual products, not only related with the books they are reading, but with the movies they are watching, and as well with the social themes that happens in our country and in our environment. Uh, then we are going to have like this planning process in which students get to to create like their script by using models and different ways to recognize it. And they struggle a little bit with the creation of this audiovisual processes because it's not sometimes not that easy, and they don't have like all of the skills. Sometimes the students of social communication have like the greatest skills with all. So, well, MP. Well, and then this audiovisual product is performed here. We can see like some of the captures. It's very curious because yesterday these two students were presenting their research process for graduation, and they still remember when they made this, that they were like in third semester, which students make this reflection through media, through video, and as well having the Jenkins convergence to spread the word of all of this that is happening. Good. Well, here, what the students have developed is the possibility of expressing their feelings and experiences using the target language. Here, especially in the one that was about human rights, the students were really connected with their feelings related to the things that were happening in the country due to the tax raise that took place by 2021. So students produce a wide range of expressions, products, and scenarios to different sorts of public. Finally, the last theory I am going to talk is multimodality. Good. Understanding the human experience, well, as major point of existence is to communicate. We are always communicating. And well, in the case of human rights and the conflict, there was like a lot of possibilities to take a stance and raise the voice against that. By now, what they are doing right now is talking about literature and talking about cinema and how this cinema and literature experiences are totally connected with their work. Good. So, this is a little thing about multimodality. A lot of the creative processes have been under the domination of monomodality, like especially during the 20th century, in which art was only a matter of experts, in which art, for example, painting has nothing to do with literature, or literature has nothing to do with cinema. But by expanding the reflection, we have that despite every modality of art has its technical procedures that clearly divide them or that clearly change them. So as well, there are these connections that still between, or these bonds that still between audiovisual, literature, and art in order to communicate a clear message related to the social topics. Good. What would be with the multimodality, or how we can evaluate that? Well, at first we have the value of the influence and the salience. That would be like, how is the resonance of this information in the public? How with the specific discourse generate an effect and a judgment? And of course, an heteroglossia, because it's going to generate a feedback, not only in literature terms, but as well in image terms. Good. The activation and personalization. Well, sorry. Over here, well, would be like all of the appealings or feelings associated, or what are the discursive values. In this case, they are talking about the news specifically, but in our case, we will be talking about art. Good. How all of these feelings, all of these speeches, generate an impact in the student's creation. Good. Well, finally, to move on, well, we have to say that according to contemporary semiotics, we have that the dialogue of multiple formats, of multiple shades, generate different paths to convey meaning. And these paths to convey meaning are different in all of the classes, in all of the spaces that we may have. And also, as a result, we can see how museology, media convergence, and TVL can be connected when students came up to do all of this reflection, and the reflection comes up and results in an outcome in English. Well, going to end up, what are the results or the projections of the festival? Well, during all this time, the Health Festival has become into a blending learning experiences, which provides an important scenario of learning and establish language for meaning through creation. So the idea is that the students have the chance to create something artistically, and use English to express this urge, to express this reflection related with art, with their literature experiences and their social experiences. So we can say that creativity is like how can we say it, would be like the medium to process and to support all of this. Set learning tasks that are not only in English but also in Spanish are guided by teachers from different subjects other than English. So the experience mostly from social communication, graphic design, and English has started to work in there to create a transdisciplinary network to produce different range of knowledge. Mostly like I am about to finish. Medellín en Corto is taking place right now, so I invite you to follow us in our social media and at Medellín en Corto. There you can see the audiovisual exhibition that is taking place right now. Here, well, there are products in Spanish, but as well there are products in English. And I would like to invite you to check the videos and to vote. Also, as well, we can follow us on Instagram and at Medellín en Corto. Now I think that we can open the space for questions, for clarifications, for comments. Thank you very much for having me.
Is really amazing. Do you work, are you the coordinator of this project?
Sorry?
Are you the coordinator of the project? Was it your initiative to start this project?
Well, okay. The idea is that in this project we are three teachers that are involved right there. And as well, to talk about the project, and as well how literature can have like a different ways to be spread. Also, another aspect that is important is what is the impact on the students, is that they are currently producing audiovisuals in Spanish and English, and as well with a wide range of possibilities, because well, we have different formats. One of the formats, for example, is the video essay, in which students make a reinterpretation of a scene of a book. Another one is the dubbing video, in which students dub video and create a new story based on an audiovisual product created in Spanish. We have also the posters from movies, and we have also photography, that is with the other teacher of photography, Professor Tatiana Arboleda, is in charge of the photography exhibition. So there are so many products that are associated with the festival, not just audiovisual, but we have also graphic products, and that can be seen there, that you can going to see it like by checking our Instagram account.
Okay, thank you. Definitely, we will follow the Instagram so we can have a better understanding of the entire project. It's actually huge. It involves the entire university. That's amazing. We have a project that is similar. It is called Visualidades here at our university, and it is also in photography, um, short film exhibitions. But we have not had the fantastic idea that you had involving the course of languages and literature. That was really insightful, really nice, and especially English. So it becomes learning English is a consequence of organizing the presentations. That's really fantastic.
Okay, well, we can say that all of the processes here at the university are led by the TVL. And mostly, well, to this project, we work a lot during the classes, and especially in the major of English language teaching. I think that is interesting for the students that are going to become to teachers, to get this impact of multimodality and to get involved with all of this media. It's not a secret that teachers, and especially like older teachers of my age, that struggle a little bit still on technology, or say that technology turns out to be like a kind of difficulty when it comes to work, right? But then the idea is how to make our teachers more competent by creating different types of media, by building up a multimodal learning experience, right? Of course, the students need to have like all of the traditional background, because they need to receive an input in order to do the task. Mostly the input is not only to have a grammar structures, or to say like the classic formulas that teachers are used to do, or traditional teachers, the ones that are involved in the tradition, work more with this grammar explanations. But the idea is how they can deduct grammar, English, grammar, reading, listening, and speaking, like all of together in a full blended experience provided by audiovisual, in which students read to have the input. Well, by design, we had different classics of literature. For example, Misery. I recommend you to watch our parody of Misery that is right there in the channel. And it's how students can like this very serious book into something with a different language, with a language more associated with youth, with the media, with shorter things, not that this long things. Probably I can have the chance to give all of the students Misery by Stephen King, and they would have to read it for tomorrow and have a huge killer exam. But that was not the point. The point of is to teach English through literature and through cinema. Well, it's very common. It's not like having students to watch a full cinema piece in our class, but it's to work with the small pieces and have them to recreate, reassociate, rephrase, create new meanings through the language of audiovisual. And as well, one of the things good from audiovisual is that students receive a different kind of input, an input that is more focused on real life, more focused on the products that they have, more focused on what they see every day when they are on their phones.
That's really lovely. I expect to visit Medellin in April, and I would love to meet you personally. So it would be great to talk more about this project that you have organized with your
Sure, of
colleagues.
course.
Yeah. So I think we don't have any further questions, Jorge. So thank you so much for being with us. It was a pleasure hearing you, and I really loved the project.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. And of course, you are going to be so welcome here in Medellin, and we can talk a little bit more about the experiences and with the students and their reflections about it.
Thank you so much. Bye. volta. Bom, para a nossa última apresentação do dia, nós teremos agora a palestra com o João Pedro, Talita, Costa e o Luiz Samuel. Eles vão falar sobre Internationalization at Home.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Talita. I'm a student from UVA. With me are my friends, my colleagues, Samuel and Pedro. And we are present our research titled by Internationalization at Home. And we worked for many months with our professor Candice Glenday. And I hope you all enjoy this enriching moment and experience, of course. So let's start with the introduction, of course. And the internationalization process within a higher education institution in Brazil begins with the engagement of the academic community in learning a foreign language. And given the ongoing growth of globalization, it's important to address the need for communication, especially in English, which is essential to the scientific communication and international collaboration. And about our objectives, the initial objective was to map the English language proficiency of students at UVA, gathering information about their language skill levels. This data aims to support the planning of actions that can improve English proficiency within the academic community. And now let's see the next slide about our research question. Are students at UVA motivated to learn the English language? Let's see.
Hello. I'm Pedro. And now I'm going to talk about the methodology that we have used in the research. So we have used the qualitative, mixing the qualitative and quantitative ways of doing our research, the best of them. And we have used also the Google Forms, the main tool for the data collecting. The questions were made as well in the Google Forms. We have to create a forms in the Google and made public the research through the social media. And we have the test divided into two parts, the social demographic and the L2 motivation. The social demographic questionnaire was about the social conditions of the students, the subjects, and the L2 motivation was a test made by Dorney and Taguchi that we have adapted to in Portuguese language to use in the research. The scoring method was a Likert scale assigning values for 1 to 6, where 1 was completely disagree and 6 completely agreement. But only of 300 of 1,000 participants attended to the research of all campuses. Only 311. And now Samuel, we're going to talk about a little more of the research.
Okay, greetings. Name is Samuel, and now we're going to talk about the second part of our questionnaire, that is about the motivation of the students to learn English. So, okay, the participants, we have a total of total number of undergraduate participants was 311 students. Okay, I'm gonna stand up right so I can read better the information. A total number of 30, I mean 311 students, being 45.44% below the ideal number of participants, which is above 1,000. Okay. Um, okay. The instruments, the Elite Motivation Questionnaire, the Portuguese version was 9 dimensions, totaling 39 affirmative items, scoring 6 points Likert scale, sequentially assigning values of 1 to 6 to the options of completely disagree to completely agree. The social demographic questionnaire was 22 items related to English knowledge and acquisition. The methodology was the qualitative research. We used Google Forms to collect all that data. And the research was divided into two parts: the social demographic questionnaire related to L2 perceived knowledge and the L2 motivation questionnaire. Right. So our research questions are students at UVA motivated to learn the English language? Okay. So Pedro, you can talk about the object of our study. We can pass this. Right.
For better visualization, I'm gonna stand up a little. And so the age of English acquisition, the majority have learned the language in between the ages of 12 to 15 years, probably on the school, on the high school and the middle school. Vai passar. And the perception of knowledge in English, the perception of knowledge and of the students themselves, they all think that they need to improve the speaking instead of the other skills. So people here in UVA think that English is more needed when speak than writing, reading, or the other skills.
Okay. So guys, before I continue talking about the social demographic questionnaire, I will present at first sight the title of this: Results of Social Demographic Questionnaire, okay? Pedro Ximenes started talking about the first results, and now I'm gonna continue this, okay? So, about students' perception of their English. We have here 4 results. At first, we have 138 who responded that they are good at reading, okay? While 247 said that they have to improve their speaking skills, while 184 responded that they have to improve their writing skills. And finally, we have 124 that responded they have to improve their reading. Okay? Now, so as we can see, we have 3 results that responded they have to improve reading, writing, and speaking, while just 138 responded that they are good in reading. Right? Now about travel abroad. We have 2 results here, while just 4.2% responded that they traveled abroad before. We have here 95.8% that responded they never traveled abroad. You know, that's a big difference between the 2 results. Okay, about their knowledge of exchange programs abroad. We have here 2 results too. At first sight, they responded that they know the in-person exchange program. The number is 41.2%, while 58.8% responded that they don't know the in-person exchange program. And about their knowledge of virtual exchange programs. 19% responded that they know the online exchange program, and 81% responded that they don't know the online exchange program. And here in our university, we have PILA, you know, and it is linked to this subject of the research. Yes, we have one student there from Letras, is Luan, yes? Okay. Only one student at the no at the virtual exchange program. Okay, that's a little worrying. Okay, now about interested in participating in an English language exchange program, we have 19.6% that they responded they are not interested about it, and while 73% responded that they are interested. And about Spanish language exchange program, we were talking about the English, and now we are talking about the Spanish. Okay, and here we have 3 results, as you can see. Let's start with the not interested. 13.2% responded that they aren't interested. 26% responded they probably are interested. And 60.8% responded they are interested. Okay? About their knowledge of a language center. And here at UVA, we have nuclei, okay? But here is more general. While 34.4% responded that they are not aware, 65.6% responded they are aware of a language center. About their predisposition to pay for foreign language course, we have here 2 results. 34.4% students wouldn't pay for a language course, and 53.7% responded that they would pay if it costs below 50 reais. Eu falar reais. Okay. Let's go to the next questionnaire, okay, because we have 2. And now, Samuel and Pedro will talk about the data analysis of L2 motivation questionnaire.
Okay, greetings again. And so I'm going to talk about the questionnaire, the motivation questionnaire that talks about their motivation to learn English. And oh, thanks. Here is the our dimension with to measure the how motivated or not the students are in learning English. So because of the questionnaire, the motivation questionnaire, we've built up some conclusions that are the first. Sorry, first I'm going to talk about the how we use the criterion to our research. So the criterion measure is the strong willingness to participation of free course. Oh, oh, the results. Okay. Sorry. Sorry. So this is the results of the motivation questionnaire. The students have strong willingness to participation of free course, but the attemptance decreases for paid courses. Talita showed these numbers before, what shows that the economic issue is relevant here, may be relevant here. And second, the students' effort to learn English is moderate, which may suggest the needs for actions to increase this motivation, right? And about the ideal subjects of L2, the respondents have a fairly positive view of the importance of English, especially for traveling and career. However, there is a resistance to studying English, which may indicate a perceived barrier or lack of interest. And the confidence in speaking English is slightly higher than in writing, so guessing potential areas for development. Okay, everybody is afraid of grammar, right? Okay. The instrumentality and the promotion, the motivation to study abroad and reading news are seen as less important, which may indicate that the students prioritize immediate needs related to work and education. So we can conclude that English is better for daily use, right? And the self-confidence in English, the students demonstrate high self-confidence regarding their ability to learn English, which is a positive indicator for linguistic development, and that the students are willing to continue studying English. Their interest in exchange programs, the desire to study abroad is significant, but not as strong as the motivation to travel, which may indicate they perceive barriers of uncertainties regarding this possibility. Okay. The fear of assimilation here, we use the innovator scale. There is moderate to high concern about cultural assimilation and the effects of internationalization, as respondents recognize the risks to Brazilian culture and identity, which is it's a fair thought, but it's not relevant about the internationalization. That's not the purpose of internationalization. The interest towards English. Respondents demonstrate a strong interest in the English language, both for listening and curiosity of its linguistic characteristics. And the anxiety towards English, again, the inverted scale. The data indicate that anxiety about using English is relatively low among respondents, which is a positive factor for language learning. And the cultural interest. Interest in films and series is also significant, although there is less interest for reading in general in academia. Again, the fact that English is better for daily use, but there is no interest in using it to academic purpose. So our discussion, the knowledge of other language favors access to different cultures and academic success. There is an explicit demand to learn other language, especially English, due to the need to promote internationalization at universities, and this is due to the globalization too. And internationalization at home is an important exchange opportunity, but it requires a second language knowledge. So this is why the exchange programs are strong at Letras course, the linguistic course. And the international impact of Brazilian scientific production is limited, as most studies are published in only English. So yeah, one of the main purpose of internationalization is to make Brazil significant worldwide by producing more scientific productions in English, right? So, okay.
Hello again. Now Now to finish, I'm gonna talk about the conclusion. Students at UVA see English as a means for traveling and entertainment, but not for education. They prefer to watch movies and series and read books instead of studying the language itself. It's a more cultural question, I think, because they find more attractive the American the American culture due to the globalization. Students need to improve their skills in English. Thus, UVA needs to encourage students to improve their knowledge. One of the main points of the internationalization was, as Samuel said, to make Brazil significant worldwide, and not, but I mean, as many as universities as possible of the Brazil, and they have to improve the programs and the scientific researches. And three, internationalization at UVA will be successful if students are engaged and action is needed. Okay, engaged and action is needed. As we could see, the people, only 300 of 1,000 made the test. And this implies that the students are not engaged and they don't want to learn a second language for academic ways, and some action is needed. And that's all. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.
Okay, any questions? Do we have questions online? No questions. Do we have questions here? No. I have one question for you guys. Yes. Was the finding of the research amazing to you? Did you find it interesting? Were the results interesting for you?
Okay, for me, the more interesting results was the one that we find that only 311 of 1,000 people did the test. It talks a lot about our internationalization, about the motivation of our students to learn a language, and I think it's a bit of sad. I think people should learn a second language, not only for the cultural purpose, but for improve their academic and scientific studies.
So an interesting data about the research was that how they're not interested in English, but still I mean the students, the respondents, they are not interested in English, in learning English at all, but are interested in benefits of knowing English. Like only 7.7% of them responded that they are excellent in English. Okay, we are excellent. The rest of them are like, okay, I'm fine with English. I'm not fine. I'm insecure. But most of them want to travel abroad. Like how we would do that, right? So English, it's interesting also know that they don't see English important in here, which is curious because as we said, most of articles are published in English. So for an academic student, is pretty important to read articles, and if you don't look for it, so and I mean that it was interesting to me and also curious, right? So
One thing, Samuel, just as an example, all our guests from Colombia spoke English. Yeah, all of them. And they could have spoken Spanish, yeah, but all of them spoke English. Okay, they are professors, but their students also speak English at the English program, of
course. Really
Yeah.
interesting. It's
Yeah, it is.
it's a little shaming to us, but
But how many professors here at UVA speak English?
yeah, or Spanish, right?
Yeah. So for our process of internationalization at home, this event is internationalization at
Yeah.
home, and we did not have high attendance. So that says a lot about the results of the research.
Yeah, and this is the conclusion of the research, right? I mean, we have to make something to change that. So yeah.
So you had asked us the best or the most interesting thing of the research. For me, to me, I think that the most interesting here was the number of the student that responded. They think that they English is important to their career, but at the same time they don't know, or at least they don't try to apply it on their career, and I think it's a little worrying, these results, because 95% of the students responded that they think that the English is important to their career, you know?
It's kind of mixed information.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you would suggest an intervention organized by the university, what would you suggest?
At first time, I would suggest another, how can I say, a language course, a language center, because all of them, or almost all of them, responded that they wouldn't pay an English course. And I think this is a little complicated, I know, to create and to think about a center course totally free. But I think that we could start thinking about this.
Actually, we have a call for submissions now, open. Edital da ProEx, I don't remember the number, for English and Spanish classes for free. And do you know how many openings we have? Vargas? 200. Yeah. So let's see, it's still open.
So I think that one of the biggest problems of the internationalization here in UVA are that because the center, the courses, the classes of other languages are not so disseminated. I don't know. That is how I see the things, because we have a center, we have a program of internationalization, the PILA, and even with that, people that simply don't want to learn a second language. They don't want at all. That's worrying, very worrying.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your participation, and we will end our transmission now. Until next time. Thank you.